on Gimel Vav.
Okay. If one gives to his mother-in-law, he tithes what he gives her and what he receives from her, because she is suspected of exchanging what is spoiled. The Yehuda says she seeks to favor her daughter and feels ashamed before her son-in-law. The Yehuda agrees that if one gives his mother-in-law produce of the Shavias, she is not suspected of exchanging it and giving her daughter produce of the Shavias year to eat. If one buys produce from a person who is not trustworthy concerning Maasros and forgets to tithe it, and he asks him on Shabbos if may he eat upon his word, if the night fall at the end of the Shabbos, he may not eat until he has tithe. If he did not find him, and one who was not trustworthy in regard to Maasros said, "It is tithe," he may eat upon his word. If the night fall at the end of Shabbos, he may not eat until he has tithe. And the true Maisa of Demai reverted to its original location. Reb Shimon Sa'ari says, ask him even on a weekday, and he may eat upon his word. Some adores his friend to eat with him, and he does not trust him regarding tithes. He eats with him on the first Shabbos, even though he does not trust him regarding tithes, provided that he says to him, it is tithe. But on the second Shabbos, even if he vowed not to derive any benefit from him, he may not eat unless he tithes.
Okay. Mishna Gimel, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Ein Adam Tzorich Likros Shem Maaser Oni Shel Demai. So normally, if you have vadai produce that needs to be mastered, and it's in a year like this, the 6th or the 3rd year, then instead of taking Maaser Sheni, you're taking Maaser Ani. Now the thing with Maaser Ani is that it's something that's just there's no sanctity to it all. It is just property that's magia to Aniyim. So now once you have no particular sanctity to it, then it's also a question of mammonos. Okay, and since Demai is only in case the Amarites did not separate, and we're not sure if he separated or not. So we're only separating things out Pasafik. So now ultimately the master ani is not, it doesn't have to go to the ani, because he once he separated it out, he says, okay, well maybe this is master ani, maybe it's not, but come and prove to me that I need to give it to the ani. Okay, now my original thought on this is that that Rabbi Eliezer is saying, well, since you don't have to give it to the ani, why do you even need to bother separating it? Whereas Chachamim omrim korei shem ve'eno tzorich lafresh. He just has to name it, but he doesn't have to separate it out. He just has to declare that there is Maaser Ani in here, but he doesn't have to separate it out because he doesn't have to give it to the Ani anyway. However, the parish, excuse me, I need to clear my throat. Excuse me.
Hey.
Okay, the parish doesn't that Kahati gives, which is obviously based on people like Bartanura, and is not exactly like that. He says Rabbi Eliezer holds that Amei Haaretz are not chashud on Maaser Ani at all. Okay, because there's no issur of eating Maaser Ani. It's Gezel Aniyim. It's a different Indian over here. Things that belong to the Aniyim have to be given to the Aniyim, and stealing from the Aniyim is seriously not cool. Okay, so Rabbi Eliezer says that they're not choshesh that they would not separate out Maaser Ani. Therefore, they would take out Maaser Ani even if they didn't take out Maaser Rishon and Maaser Sheni and Trumas Maaser. So this is the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, and that there's no chashash at all that the Amei Haaretz would not give Maaser Ani if it's due on Maaser Ani. Okay, but the Chachamim say no. There's Korei Shem. He does have to name it, because the Amei Haaretz are indeed suspected on Maaser Ani because of the tircha involved. Just it's another bit that you've got to take off and whatever, and I don't feel like it. Okay, so they will go for they suspect the laziness aspect. Right. Okay, but he doesn't have to separate it and give it to the ani, because it's still mammonus. And okay, so hamotzi mechaver alav haraya. If you want to take this maaser ani off me, then prove that it was never maasered in the first place. Okay. Mishe kara shem l'trumas maaser shel Demai. So somebody who has designated, there's a pile of Demai in front of him, and he says, okay, the Maaser Rishon is over here on the northern part, and the Trumas Maaser is on the eastern part of the northern part. Okay, so he's designated it. Maaser Ani shel Vada, and similarly, if he is designated Maaser Ani but he hasn't yet separated it, Lo Yitleim b'Shabbos. He's not allowed to separate them out on Shabbos. Okay, why? Because even to give them to a Kohen and to an Ani, that is, okay, because it's also to give matanas to a Kohen or to an Ani on Shabbos. Is got any transactions have to be effected before Shabbos.
We can't take Meiser Ani. We can't take Meiser Trumas on Shabbos anyway.
Right, but even if he's designated it by name,
Uh-huh.
so he's already designated by name, and so it's there. He just has to actually take it physically and separate it out to give it to them. He says you're not allowed to give them to the Kohen or to the Ani on Shabbos. Okay, that has to be done before Erev Shabbos. Okay, on Erev Shabbos. Okay, but im haya Kohen or Ani lemodim leachol etzlo. But let's say he's got a Kohen or an Ani who comes to eat by him on Shabbos. They regularly come to eat by him at his table on Shabbos. They're allowed to come to him on Shabbos, and he's allowed to serve them the truma in the case of Demai, or in fact any truma. It doesn't. It could have been from Vada even, the Maser, and the Maser Ani can give to in front of the Ani. But he has to inform them. That this is what he's doing for them, so that they why? Because first of all, for the Kohen must know that he's eating truma, so he can make himself tahor. But secondly, so that they know otherwise that he shouldn't have a gezel genevas das. He's not because he's tricking them. It's keilu. I found let's say I found your wallet. With some cash in it, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna, I'll give you your wallet, and you say, oh, thank you very much for your wallet, and I say, and here's some cash, just a present from me to you. That's called Gnevas Das, because I'm giving you a gift that isn't mine to give. It's yours. It was yours in the first place, but I'm making you think better of me because I gave you a nice gift that really was my gear to you. Okay, so now when it comes to this Kohen who's coming to eat by his table, if you serve him truma, and he thinks, this is so nice that this guy, he's giving me from his own. I'm not giving him from mine. I'm giving him from something that's megir to him. Same with the Ani. If I'm giving him Maser Ani, I couldn't have it myself. I'm giving it to him because he's an Ani, and therefore he must know that I'm serving him something that is that's megir to him, not something that's coming from my from mine. Because of the Genevas Das. Okay. Anything else to say about that? I'm just checking the commentary quickly. That's exactly what he says there. Okay. Mishna, hey, ha'omer lami she'enu ne'eman al hamasros. So he's got a friend who is chashud and masros. He's not trustworthy. Kach li mimi she'u ne'eman u mimi she'u ma'aser. So I say, go to the marketplace, find a seller who is ne'eman on Trumas and Masros, and buy me some spinach. And no, he's not ne'eman. Why? Because if the person himself doesn't have is chashud on these things, then he's going to come back and say, yeah, I bought them from Ruvain, and Ruvain is trustworthy in my eyes, and I think, but Ruvain is not trustworthy. But if he does, so I've got to know who they come from.
Right.
So his opinion of what's trustworthy is not valid for me. Okay. So meish ploni. However, if I've got my Amaret's friend and I say, listen, go and buy from Shimon, because I know that he's trustworthy. So my friend will come back and say, here's some vegetables. Now, I'll trust him on that. I don't think that he went to buy from anyone else, because he knows that it's very easy for me to check with Shimon that he bought from there. Okay. הלך לקח ממנו ואמר לו לא מצאתי ולקחתי לך מאחר שהוא נאמן. Says, I couldn't find Shimon, but you know what? I bought from Reuven, and I know Reuven is good. So, lo eino ne'eman. Same situation as before.
Right.
You like, your opinion of who is ne'eman, unfortunately, does not hold much weight, because you're not ne'eman for yourself. Okay, so those are simple enough.
Okay, good.
Okay, Peah Ches Gimel.
They are trustworthy concerning wheat, but they are not trusted concerning flour or bread. They are trusted concerning the sarah of rice, but they are not trusted concerning it, either raw or cooked. They are trusted concerning beans, but they're not trusted concerning pounded beans, either raw or cooked. They are trustworthy concerning oil, and when they say that it is of Maisa Ani, but they are not trusted when they say it is of Nikuv olives. They are trustworthy concerning raw greens, but they are not trusted when they are cooked, unless he had a small quantity, for it is the custom of the household to take out from his soup pot. One may not give the poor from the threshing floor less than half a cob of wheat and a cob of barley. Reb Meir says half a cob and a half of spelt, and a cob of dry figs or a manna of fig cake. Rabbi Akiva says half a log of wine. Rabbi Akiva says 1/4 of a quarter of oil, and Rabbi Akiva says 1/8. Any other produce, Abba Shaul says sufficient to sell and purchase it with food for 2 meals. Okay. So we have to have enough for those 2 meals.
Yeah.
Right. It just can't be a little.
Yeah. How much to give to him? Yeah.
Right.
Because when you're giving him, this is all talking about at the Gorin. Because the Gorin is in the middle of a great big field, and there are a lot of people coming in expecting to come away with something. So we want to make sure that they come away with something mechubad, that not just scraps. Whereas when you're in the city and you've got people going door to door, you give this one that gives a shekel, this one gives a shekel. It builds up, and they can go from door to door, and you don't have to give him an entire meal. You can give him a shekel.
Right.
Okay. Brachas. Hey, Dalit.
Whoever goes before the ark shall not answer Amen after the Kohanim, because he might become confused. If no Kohen is present except him, he must not raise his hands. But if he is confident that he can raise his hands and resumes the tefillah, he is permitted.
Right, and that's the source of why our Kohanim nowadays, if you do have the only Kohen is the Baal Tefillah, we still allow him to, because he's got the Siddur. The advent of the printing press changed a lot of halachas here.
If one commits an error in his recitation of the tefillah, it is a bad omen for him. And if he is a congregational reader, it is a bad omen for those who sent him, because a man's agent is as himself. They said of Reb Chanina ben Dosa that he would pray for the sick and say, "This one will live and that one will die." They asked him, "How do you know?" He said to them, "If a prayer is fluent in my mouth, I know that it is accepted, and if not, I know that it is rejected." What blessing does one make over fruit? On fruit of the trees, one says, "Who creates the fruit of the tree?" Except for the wine. On wine, one says, "Who creates the fruit of the vine?" On fruits of the earth, one says, "Who creates the fruit of the soil?" Except for bread. And on bread, one says, "Who brings forth bread from the soil?" On vegetables, one says, "Who creates the fruit of the soil?" And Rabbi Yehuda says, "Who creates diverse kinds of herbs?"
Hi.
Herbs. Where's my pencil?
Okay, we're starting Nida today.
Oh, I didn't take out the Nida. Why didn't I take out? Demai says, regarding all women whose times of discovering a discharge of blood suffice for them. Hillel says they are considered tamei from the time of their last examination to the time of their present examination, even for many days. But the Kakaman say the law is neither in accordance with the words of this one nor in accordance with the words of that one. Rather, 24 hours reduces the time up from examination to examination, and from examination to examination reduces the time of 24 hours. For any woman who has a fixed period, her time suffices for her. And for one who examines herself with examination cloth when she engages in marital relations, this examination is the equivalent of a regular examination and reduces the time of 24 hours and the time of from examination to examination. Wait, what is an example of the law that her time suffices for her? If a woman had been sitting on a bed and handling taharos, and she left the bed and discovered a discharge of uterine blood, she is tame, but they are all tahor. Even though the Kakamas say that she conveys tuma retroactively for 24 hours, she begins counting only from the time that she sees the discharge.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Just trying to understand that again. She's sitting on the bed and she's dealing with taros. Okay, and she gets up and walks away, and now and then she sees blood. Now she's tame, but all of them are tahor. So dayashata. So that's dayashata. This is a case of dayashata when she doesn't have to go retroactively. So that's when a woman has a fixed period. So I was thinking I was just getting confused between the woman who doesn't have the fixed period. Where in that case, Beis Hillel would have said, look, you got to go back 24 hours up until the previous bedika, and everything that she touched since then is now tame.
Right.
Okay, carry on, Gimel.
I'm just looking at they're all tahor. Only because of the 24 hours?
No, so why are these things the things that she was handling are tahor? Because this example is a woman who's got a fixed period, which means that we don't have to go retroactively at all.
Okay. Rabbi Eliezer says there are 4 women whose time suffice for them: a virgin, a pregnant woman, a nursing woman, and an old woman. Rabbi Yeshua said, I heard this law only with regard to a virgin. However, the law is like Rabbi Eliezer.
Okay. Caleb.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I forgot I started the new volume. So I put the new volume down, and when you said Caleb, that's when I missed. All right, we should be on Chet Aleph, correct?
We're on his base. I've got.
Okay, so that's where it was because I took it out. It was whole, and if it was whole, and so too a box, and so too a flask. If a sheretz is in the container, the oven is tahor. And if the sheretz is in the oven, food within the container is tahor. If they developed a whole, that which was intended for foods, its measure is with olives. That which was intended for liquids, its measure is with liquids, and with that which was intended for both, we apply it to the more stringent measure, and that is enough to take in liquid. Regarding a sereda that is placed on the mouth of an oven and sinks into it and it has no rim, if a sheretz is in the sereda, the oven is tame. If a sheretz is in the oven, food that is in the sereda is tame. For only utensils protect from the tumor of an earthenware utensil. Regarding a barrel that is full of tahor beverages and is placed beneath the floor of an oven, if a sheretz is in the oven, the barrel and the beverage are tahor. If the barrel was inverted and its mouth open to the airspace of the oven, if a sheretz is in the oven, beverage sufficient to moisten that is on the bottom of the barrel is tahor. Regarding a pot that is placed in an oven, if a sheretz is in the oven, the pot is tahor. For an earthenware utensils does not render utensils tameh. If there was in the pot beverage sufficient to moisten, the beverage becomes tameh and transmitted tuma. Thus, this pot says, that which you made tameh did not make me tameh, and yet you have made me tameh.
Right, we had a bunch of those examples of things that couldn't, where A could not make B tameh, but it made C tameh, which then made B tameh. Okay. Baba Basra, Vav Dalit.
One who sells a place to another to build a house for him on it, and similarly, a large one, 8 by 10, a salon, 10 by 10, no, sorry, I skipped a page. And similarly, one who accepts a contract from another to build for him a wedding house for his son or a widow house for his daughter must build a house 4 amas by 6 amas. These are the words of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Yishmael says this is a cattle shed. The one who wants to make a cattle shed builds it 4 amas by 6 amas, a small house 6 by 8, a large one 8 by 10, a salon 10 by 10. Its height must equal half its length and width. Proof of this from the sanctuary. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamil says everything follows the construction of the temple. One who owns a pit behind the house of another enters at the time that people ordinarily enter and leaves at the time that people ordinarily leaves. He may not bring in his animal to give it to drink from his pit. Rather, he must fill a container and give it to drink outside, and each one make a lock for himself. One who owns a garden behind the garden of another enters when people ordinarily enter and leaves when people ordinarily leave. He may not bring merchants into it, nor may he enter it from another field, and the owner of the outer one may plant the path. If they assign him a path on the side of mutual consent, he may enter whenever he wishes and leave whenever he wishes, and he may bring merchants into it. However, he may not enter into it from another field, and neither is permitted to plant it.
Okay.
Yoma.
Yoma Gimel Hay.
The morning incense was offered every day between the throwing of the blood and the offering of the limbs of the daily offering, that of the afternoon between the offering of the limbs and the nesachim. If the Kohen Gadol was old or delicate, they warmed water for him and poured it into the cold water so that he should not lose its chill. They brought him to the parva chamber, which was in the holy area. They spread a linen sheet between him and the people. He washed his hands and feet, then undressed. But Meir said, first he undressed, then he washed his hands and feet. He went down and immersed himself, ascended and dried himself. They brought him white vestments. He dressed and then washed his hands and feet. In the morning he put on Pelusian linen worth 12 mana, and the afternoon Indian linen worth 800 zuz. These are the words of Rav Meir. But the comments say in the morning he donned linen worth 18 mana, and in the afternoon linen worth 12 mana, all worth together 30 mana. These amounts came from the public treasury, but if he wishes to add to these amounts, he may do so from his own.
Yes, if you've got a wealthy Kohen Gadol, he can get himself even fancier clothes.
Right.
But I mean, ultimately, the clothing that he wears, of course, the white clothing that he wears is a once-off. The morning clothes he wears once in the morning, that's it.
Right.
And in the afternoon he puts on different ones, and that's the only time he'll ever wear them, and then they get put into Geniza after that. Okay.
Never used again.
Yeah.
Is it washed and then, or it just goes in a Geniza and that's it?
I mean, who are you washing it for? I don't know.
Yeah. But they did have a place where they washed the clothes. There was a place.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Okay.
Have
a wonderful day.
So, by the way, we have to remember that what's today? Wednesday. So Thursday. So Friday is Rosh Chodesh. Friday.
Rosh Chodesh. Yes.
So I will start a little later, whatever.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Okay.
Great day.